Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something really significant, a major turning point in world history. We're talking about the results of the Communist Revolution in China.
That's right. It's a huge topic.
Yeah, and we've got some world history info here, and we're basically going to unpack what happened after this big shift. Our goal really is to give everyone a clear picture of the key changes, the key ideas, without getting totally buried in details.
Exactly. We want to focus on the core outcomes, what happened right after, and their immediate impact.
Okay, perfect. So maybe to get us started, we should break down some key people and concepts, things you really need to know to follow along.
Good idea. Lay the groundwork.
All right, first up, Sun Yat-sen, also known as Sun Yat-sen.
Right.
He was like a really early leader in China, wanted to modernize things, get rid of the old emperor system. This was back in the early 1900s.
Yeah, think of him as one of the first really pushing for big systemic changes.
He kind of planted the seeds, didn't he, even though he wasn't there for the Communist Revolution itself.
Absolutely. His ideas about nationalism, democracy, they were really influential even later on. He set a direction.
His political party was the Kuomintang.
Correct. Or the Nationalist Party, as it's often called.
And their goal was basically a strong, unified China.
Pretty much. Initially, they were looking at, a more centralized government, maybe modernizing along some Western lines, that kind of thing.
Okay. Then comes Jiang Jieshi. That's Chiang Kai-shek.
He takes over the Kuomintang after Sun Yat-sen dies.
And he also wanted a united China, but different ideas, right? Especially about the communists.
Very different. That's a crucial point. Sun and Jiang both wanted a strong China, yeah. But Jiang became much more focused on his own power and, crucially, on fighting the communists.
Which obviously created a lot of conflict.
A major source of conflict, yeah. It defined his leadership in many ways.
Okay, so speaking of communists, Mao Zedong.
The central figure on that side. Leader of the Chinese Communist Party.
And his vision was quite different again. He believed the peasants, the people in the countryside, could lead the revolution.
Yeah, that's fascinating, isn't it? How he adapted Marxist ideas.
Right, because traditional Marxism was more about factory workers.
Exactly. Industrial workers.
Yeah.
But Mao saw the massive potential in China's, huge rural population. That was a really significant strategic shift in revolutionary thinking.
Okay, so when we hear nationalist Chinese, that refers to Jiang Jishi's side, his supporters, the army.
That's right. The people in the military backing Jiang and the Kuomintang. They were the established power for quite a while.
They had international recognition for a time.
They did, yeah. But they also faced, internal problems, corruption, and this constantly growing challenge from Mao's communists.
Which brings us to the big turning point, the People's Republic of China.
Founded in 1949.
This is the communist government set up on the mainland after Mao and the communists won the revolution, the Civil War.
A truly massive event. End of the Civil War. Start of a communist state covering this vast area. It completely changed the map of Asia, politically.
But the story doesn't end there for the nationalists. Jiang Jieshi and his supporters,
Yeah.
they didn't just vanish
No, they retreated, fled to the island of Taiwan.
and set up their own government there.
Yes, the Republic of China. And it's still there today.
Which created this huge split, this division that's still a major issue.
Oh, absolutely. You ended up with two governments, both claiming to be the legitimate government of all of China. The PRC in Beijing and the ROC in Taipei. It's incredibly complex with really deep historical roots.
Okay, and how does the United Nations fit into this? The UN formed after WWII to keep peace.
Well, China's a member, but for a long time, the UN actually recognized the government in Taiwan as the official government of China.
Not the People's Republic, not Mao's government.
Not initially, no. That recognition of Taiwan was largely down to the Cold War politics.
Ah, okay. So Western countries mostly didn't recognize the communist government in Beijing.
Exactly. They stuck with the nationalists in Taiwan as the sort of legitimate China on the world stage for quite some time.
Interesting. And one more piece here. The Korean War, 1950 to 53.
Right, on the Korean Peninsula.
And communist China got involved?
Directly involved, yes, militarily. They supported North Korea against South Korea and the UN forces.
Which included the U.S.
Included the U.S., yes. China jumping into the Korean War was huge.
Yeah.
It showed they'd back communist allies, and, well, it announced their arrival as a major military and political force.
It definitely made the world sit up and take notice.
No question.
Okay, so let's try and summarize this. We have the Communist Revolution, led by Mao Zedong.
Right.
It results in the People's Republic of China, the PRC, on the mainland in 1949. The nationalists, under Jiang Jiechi, retreat to Taiwan, setting up the Republic of China, the ROC.
Creating that split.
Yeah, a split that's still here today. Two governments claiming legitimacy.
Yep.
And initially, the UN recognized the Taiwan government.
Correct, for quite a while.
And then the Korean War happens, and the PRC gets directly involved, showing its new power on the world stage.
That sums up the immediate aftermath pretty well. It fundamentally changed China internally and its position globally.
Yeah.
The effects are, well, they're still unfolding.
Absolutely. Okay, so for everyone listening, let's pause and maybe chew on that a bit. We've got a few questions just to help you process this, make sure it sinks in.
Good idea. Self-check time.
First one, can you explain, just in your own words, who Sun Yat-sen and Mao Zedong were, what were their main goals for China, and maybe what were the big differences in how they saw the future?
Yeah, think about what they wanted, but also maybe who they were relying on to get it done.
Okay.
Different groups of people, right?
Good point. Okay, second, who were the two main sides fighting in the Chinese Revolution? The nationalists and the communists, right? But where did each side end up physically after the revolution? What was the geographic result?
Think about that physical separation, the two places they ended up controlling.
Third, what exactly is the People's Republic of China? How did its creation in 1949 change China's government? And how is it different from Taiwan in terms of who's in charge and how things developed after 49?
What defines each one, and how do they both relate to this idea of China? It's complicated.
Definitely. Fourth question, how did the Korean War involve the new communist China? Why did they get involved, do you think? And what did that signal about China's role in the world back then?
Yeah, consider the bigger picture. The Cold War starting up. What message did China's actions send?
And lastly, number 5. What was the United Nations' initial stance on which government represented China? Why might they have taken that position at first?
Think about the global politics, the ideologies clashing right after World War II.
Okay, so that wraps up our deep dive into the results of the Communist Revolution in China.
Phew, a lot to cover there.
It really is. We hope this breakdown gave you a clearer sense of this really pivotal time and, its ongoing impact.
There's always more to learn, of course.
Oh, absolutely. So much more. Like the specific social changes, economic shifts inside mainland China, the whole complex relationship between the PRC and Taiwan. It goes on and on.
It really does.
So keep that curiosity going, keep digging, and definitely let us know if there are other big historical moments or topics you'd like us to tackle in future deep dives.
Yeah, understanding this period is just so essential for understanding a lot of what's happening in the world today. It casts a long shadow